Always get you to the ball game on time.
And here's the pitch.
It's Matt Wyatt with all the good stuff you need to know. Right here on the Zone 105.9 and worldwide at thezone1059.com.
Monday. How about you? How you feeling on a Monday, huh? Are you ready for Monday? Welcome into the show on this Monday. I'm Matt in the Bureau, the Farm Bureau Insurance Studio. Farm Bureau, go! With the home team. They are your home team at Farm Bureau Insurance all across the great state of Mississippi. Your hometown heroes, that's your local Farm Bureau Insurance agents. It's the start of a new week, and it's the start of a new show. And like always, you can be a part of it. I hope you will be. I'm a little hoarse. Can y'all tell that? I don't know why they call it hoarse when your voice is weak and kind of going out, but can y'all tell? Maybe you can't. You know, a lot of people say I'm hoarse and then nobody can tell. It's like they are more sensitive to their own voice problems than anybody else. Yeah, I don't know what it is. So maybe I'm getting sick. No, I'm kidding. Hopefully I'm not. But I am a little hoarse today. So if I don't talk as loud or as much for that matter, which, you know, really both those things, probably something you prefer. Just throwing it out there. But it certainly helps when I get to hear from you. All right. And lots of ways for you to do that today on this Monday. State and Ole Miss men got whipped. Ole Miss women had to play South Carolina, no chance, although they played well. State's women did pick up a win. So with the major men's and women's teams in the state, we were 1 out of 4 on win. State got a win over Texas A&M, all of that. More headlines. We're 1 week closer. So now I guess we are inside of Super Bowl week. Yep, we are on to the Super Bowl, which will be the last football game of the season before we get into what, spring football? Y'all excited about that? No? Okay. And more. So feel free to get on in here. We're going to break it all down today. Love to hear from you, and I hope you will text me on the Country Pleasing text line. Country Pleasing Sausage, that is. I started a package of, it is jalapeno and pineapple. Yeah, and I know that's like people are really fond of that. And I like it too. I just don't eat as much of that as I do the jalapeno and cheddar. But I started in on jalapeno pineapple this morning. And I was so tickled with myself because I cooked it just right. I don't know what it is, but I mean, technically, I don't know what it is. I couldn't tell you the science of it, I guess. But there's something about, the pineapple, a little sweeter, has a little acidity to it naturally. And so it cooks just a little different than some of the other flavors. Like it cooks a little quicker, and you need to use a little bit lower heat too, depending on how you're cooking. Because like if you frying it in a pan too hot, and it'll burn a little quicker. So I was so pleased I cooked it just right. Enough of that. Enough of my breakfast, which happened many hours ago. You can text me on the Country Pleasing text line. Hope you will. The number to text, here it is, 885-3776. Got it? That is a 601 number, 885-3776. Another way to remember the number is 885-ESPN. Okay? Call me on the Divini Equipment phone line. And on a day when my voice is weak, pretty sure your voice is strong. So call me. I don't care what we get into. It's fine. Just give me a call. I don't care what you call me. Just call, right? And then they'll say, call me on the Divini Equipment phone line. Divini Equipment in Madison and in Jackson. They are your Kubota dealer, the oldest Kubota dealer in the U.S., in fact. Meaning they've been doing it better, longer than anyone else right here at home at Divini. Number to call the show. Got a new one. 897-1059. So we only changed 3 digits. 601 number, 897-1059. Give me a call and comment on the live stream. Hey, to you, it is live. It is live. Sven comments on the Murray West live thread on YouTube. He said, Hail State, everybody. And he's tuning in all the way from Germany. So what's your excuse? Sven, good to hear from you. All right, right off the bat, top of the show, let's do a little headlines. What we got today?
Good evening. I'm Ron Burgundy, and this is what's happening in your world.
Good evening, and welcome to Eyewitness News.
Here's what's making news.
What is making news? Okay. Now, this popped up back on Friday, and we didn't really have much time to discuss it, but there's plenty to discuss. The Big Ten and the SEC are joining forces. Well, sort of. They're forming a pact with a T, sort of. Really, it's called an advisory group. They want to get to heads together from the Big Ten and the SEC to address the significant challenges facing college athletics. So presidents, chancellors, and ADs in the Big Ten and the SEC are now going to be working together. What does that mean going forward? We'll talk about it. Patrick Mahomes' father was arrested for DWI in Texas, driving while intoxicated. Father of Kansas City Chiefs quarterback Pat Mahomes arrested Saturday night in Tyler, Texas. Wyndham Clark won the PGA Tour event at Pebble Beach, the Pebble Beach Pro-Am, but they canceled the fourth round, but he closed it out. And, of course, you know he had the record. He shot a 60. He was within like 3/4 of an inch of shooting a 59. The ball stopped on the lip. Still shot a 60 and set a record. And finally, fourth headline of the day, State and Ole Miss men's basketball team got whipped. I don't mean beat. I mean whipped. Now, in regards to how to say whipped, we got to check in with Beaver. Hey, B!
Hey, Matt White.
What did we decide, whipped or whipped?
I prefer the hard emphasis on the H.
Okay.
I mean, in real life, in real life, we know it's whipped, but it's way more fun to just keep saying.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Whipped. Especially when you do it right into the mouth of the microphone, and everybody in radio land's like, what is that noise? Whipped. Yeah, they got whipped. How was your weekend, Beaver?
It was good. It was good. There was no football, so we had to kind of alter things a little bit at Saints Bros.
Yeah, it felt like a weird weekend, didn't it?
It did.
with no football to watch. And then you resort to what do you resort? Maybe watch golf, maybe don't watch golf. I watched a little basketball Saturday and Sunday. I've never heard you talk about it, Beaver. You don't watch a ton of college basketball, do you?
Not until the tournament.
Yeah, March Madness. Gotcha. And you can watch movies. Hey, by the way, speaking of movies, did you see that Matt Damon interview clip that I sent you? Did you happen to have a chance to watch it?
Oh, now I feel bad. No, I didn't watch it. I know I saw it.
Yeah.
I saw it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Just this morning, actually.
Yeah, people are busy. You can't always look at every text you get. But what was in that, Beaver, was him explaining. It was Matt Damon explaining. Well, he was answering a question about what's up with the movie business these days, right? And I think the context of the question was, hey, when you were coming up, young person, young actor in Hollywood, like big blockbuster movies in theaters and stuff were totally different. Like you'd have a lot of the rom-coms and the love stories and, more cerebral type stories and the Good Will Huntings. And now it's like for a movie to hit the theater, it's like all big epic superhero, special effects BS, right? That was sort of the context of the question. And Beaver, the way he answered it, he said, well, think about this. He said, back in the day, it was different because we all made money when a movie hit the theaters and did well. It sold tickets, box office, all that. He said, but then it happened all over again for all of us, actors, studios, everything, as soon as that same movie went to DVD. He said, so we double up. He said, there were a lot of movies that did well in the box office where a lot of people involved made more money off of it after it hit the racks and DVDs, and the DVDs started selling. And he said, well, that went away. So now, he said, anybody that's making a movie, you're strictly looking at what's it going to make in terms of getting people to buy a ticket and go see it in a theater or maybe possibly download it later on some service. He said, because there's no such thing as you got to make your money. Everybody's going to make their money off the movie the first go round when it hits the theaters. So it's strictly about, in a lot of cases, appeal to the least common denominator and whatever's going to get the most people to go watch it at least one time. Because after that, that's it. And I thought, boy, that makes a lot of sense. Have you ever thought about that?
I haven't, but it does make sense. Because all we want, the first comment about the comic books, all we want is Marvel movie action.
Yeah, that's all everybody wants, apparently. But you know what I think it is, Beaver? It's the people behind the Marvel comic book stuff knowing, okay, we're not wasting our time and money on this. We know people will watch it. We know about tickets. No point in doing anything else. You're not going to see any more movies, Beaver, like, let me give you an example. You've Got Mail, Tom Hanks, Meg Ryan. Do you remember that one from way back?
Yeah.
And so if you were to describe sort of the plot of that movie, what would it be? It's a romantic, it's not really even a comedy. It's just it's a love story. That's what it is. About bookstores. They're not ever, and going forward, going to be making movies like that, putting them in a theater. Ain't happening. That goes straight to Hallmark. Oh, and get this, Beaver. You know what else they touched on? Like if you were to find and watch the extended version of that interview with Matt Damon, you know what else they touch on? How about this? He said, you know what are the most purchased movies on like Amazon Prime? He said all those movies from the 90s, 80s and 90s. Back to the Future, You've Got Mail. Everybody's going to buy those. Thought it was really interesting how it's changed. Now that I've put everybody completely to sleep. See, I just wanted to talk to Beaver. That's all. Thank goodness we got sports and live sports. And it is whipped with an extra H in there. Okay, we'll go with that. State and Ole Miss got absolutely dismantled this weekend. And here's the thing about it, okay? When I say absolutely dismantled, the final score in the Auburn at Ole Miss game on Saturday was only 91-77. That's a 14-point win. So when I say like dismantled, you think of 25, 30-point losses, right? Right. Well, the margin of victory for Auburn at Ole Miss in their arena was 14. And here's the thing about that. It was Ole Miss's first home loss of the year. Okay? It was Auburn's first quad one win of the year. But the reason it was an absolute dismantling of Ole Miss led by 9 at halftime. Lost by 14. Outscored by 23 points in the second half. Listen, Auburn scored 56 points in the second half of that game. They just, I don't know, you can't figure that out. And here's the thing about it. As bad as that looks, it was still worse for Mississippi State in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. We're sitting here talking about Auburn scoring 56 points in the second half against Ole Miss in Oxford. Well, Alabama scored 52 in the second half against State. But the difference is it wasn't a comeback like it was for Auburn. Alabama put up 52 in the second half against State, right? Alabama, get this, true story. Alabama led by 23 points at halftime. 47-24 at halftime. People getting hurt. DJ Jeffries messed his knee up. He's out for a little while. Hubbard went to limping off. I think maybe he came back. I don't know. He limped off. Tolu Smith carried the team with 23 points to avoid complete and utter embarrassment. 99-67. When's the last time we're talking about a defensive juggernaut here, right? That's the identity, defense. 99 points. 47 in one half, 52 in the other. That same team last year had a lot of games, not a few, a lot of games where the opponent was just trying to get to 52 points in the game. Alabama put up 52 in the second half. It was as bad as it has gotten. And now State's sitting there 14-8 overall, and they are 3-6 in the SEC. Alabama improved to 8-1 in the SEC. All right, so what's up next for State? Let's see here. Hold your horses. I got it. Coming back home, going to host Georgia this week on Wednesday night. That'll be a late tip-off at 8 p.m. And then go to Missouri on the weekend for a night game at Missouri. Now, Missouri's good and terrible. It's definitely a winning opportunity on the road for State, who has not won a true road game all year. But that's the thing about it. You can sit there and look at Missouri and say they're terrible. But the deal is they're at home, State's on the road. State hadn't been able to do anything on the road. Hadn't even been the same team on the road. And now they're going to play this next stretch that's all important without DJ Jeffries for a little while. All right, coming to your comments. Let's start off on the Murray West live thread. Go to murraywest.com, contract embroidery here in the state of Mississippi. Homegrown. They do a fantastic job. So check them out. murraywest.com. They have the leather patch hats and can do big orders, small orders of those for whatever you need, and even help you with designing a logo if you need that for your hat, like the ones I like and like the ones I get from Country Pleasing and others, and from Bank of England Mortgage and Went McGee, so check those out. Will commented, he said, he's on YouTube, by the way. He says, our defense is going to suffer without DJ, and that's kind of how everybody felt. Well, here's the thing about it. It was suffering with him. Let's be real here. Just because you have a reputation doesn't necessarily mean that it's reality. That was a good defensive team last year. They're a good defensive team this year. 99 to Alabama, 86 to Ole Miss. Now, they held Auburn at 58, 79 to Florida in a loss, 90 to Kentucky, 82 to Alabama the first time you play. It's not a good defensive team. So if they're going to struggle without him, shoot, man, they struggled with him. Just the way it is. I'm telling the truth. John commented on Facebook on the Murray West live thread, and John said, don't say the word embarrassing, because a fan today said that you're not a fan if you use that word. Well, look, embarrassing is a term, right, it's an adjective that is, I guess it could be an adverb also, right? But I get to decide if that's the way I feel, not somebody else. Nobody else can tell me if I'm embarrassed. Okay, let me tell you something. As a State fan from the state of Alabama, I'm embarrassed when we get beat 99 to 67. Y'all, that's 32 points in a loss. Giving up 99. Somebody make a free throw, it's 100. I get to decide if it's embarrassing or not. I don't need somebody else to tell me about it. And John commented and said, I was embarrassed. That's a whipping, man. Sometimes it happens. Stephen commented on the Country Pleasing text line, Country Pleasing Sausage. Stephen said, hey, Matt, I went to Tuscaloosa to see the Dogs Saturday. It was awful. They couldn't miss. We couldn't hit the ocean. Then he said their stadium was awful. He said it looked like it was built in the 50s, 60s, never updated. I know they only care about football, but come on, build a new arena. They've been talking about, doing new stuff at Alabama, and it is very, very old. 𝐁𝐿𝐴 Coliseum in Alabama. They maybe have been in it since the 60s for all I know. They ain't too far off. It's a oldie and a goodie. Ed commented and said it's because of the sugar from the pineapple. Yeah, the sugar in the pineapple. I mentioned, the acidity of the sugar. Yeah, it cooks a little different. It'll burn quicker if you get it too hot. Cook it right, though. Man, it's some kind of good. Jason in Flagstaff, Arizona says, whipped or whipped is irrelevant when the appropriate verb is whooped. And he mentioned Stone Cold Steve Austin's proverbial can of whoops that he always talked about. Right. That's an excellent point, Jason. And whooped is a little bit maybe underused term. Now, Kenny Don't Call Me Ken reminded me that You've Got Mail is a remake of the 1940 movie Little Shop Around the Corner with Jimmy Stewart. Oh, okay. I didn't realize that. I did not realize it. So, I mean, but let's be honest, Kenny, and I don't think this is just me as an old guy. I think, again, to that point about the way movies are done now and the fact that there's no DVD release and, all that kind of thing. We're past the stage of all the best movies coming out. It's already been done. We're past it. And maybe we were past it a long time ago because even apparently in the 80s and 90s, we were remaking stuff from the 40s, giving it a new name. Nick texted the show. And what did he say here? What did he say? Next weekend is fast approaching, Matt. You bet it is. Can't wait. All right. Thanks for tuning in. No, we're not done. We're not. Good segment of headlines. Our headlines on the show are brought to you by Bank of England Mortgage and Went McGee, the Mortgage Man. You can see him at mortgagemanms.com. Locations in Ridgeland, Starkville, Oxford, and Tupelo now. And don't forget, first-time homebuyers, listen up. Bank of England has been allocated up to $1.55 million for a special grant program. It's for first-time homebuyers. You can get anywhere from $8,500 to $20,000 towards the purchase of your home, your first one. And when the money runs out, the program's over. So you need to take advantage of it now. There's no repayment if you access this program. You don't have to pay it back as long as you don't sell your house within 5 years. Go see him. My man Went McGee at Bank of England Mortgage, mortgagemanms.com. Stick around.
Now's the time to get a great deal on proven Kubota farming equipment.
Y'all heard me talk about Murray West and murraywest.com. They made the hat that I'm wearing. Got the Natchez Trace logo on it. I've told you a little bit about what they are. Contract embroidery company here in Mississippi. Started back in 1996, family owned. They do a phenomenal job, and I got to go visit their place up in New Albany. Let me show you a little bit about it. I say they do quality stuff. They really do. And so custom apparel, team stuff, I mean, really and truly, just about every high school in the state is sending their embroidered, team gear, jackets, shirts, hats, stuff. Baseball teams, football teams, they're sending it to the folks at Murray West in New Albany. You go to their website, murraywest.com, you go to the bottom, you can kind of see some of the Prairie Wildlife, Ole Miss Athletics, Gentile, others that they work with. Can't recommend them enough. If you need your logo printed, embroidered, sewn on to anything, custom apparel and other stuff, make sure you go there. Murray West, you can find them online. murraywest.com. That's MURRY West.com.
I'm Eddie Holcomb with Washington County Farm Bureau Insurance.
I'm Scott Rainwater with Farm Bureau Insurance here in Washington County.
I'm Blake Policini with Washington County Farm Bureau.
I'm Brian Street with Farm Bureau Insurance in Washington County, and we are your home team.
I think you know what time it is. It's time to eat. Country pleasing, jalapeno and cheddar, green onion. And no, it's not a grill, see? But the fire is just about burnt down enough where it's time to put some of this on there. And the only decision when it comes to country pleasing sausage is which flavor, jalapeno and cheddar or maybe green onion. Both.
Break me off a piece of that.
Look at that. You know what that is? That's real green onion. Like that monkey who set his tail on a railroad track. It won't be long now. Country Pleasing sausage, these flavors, and many, many others. Get them online at 𝐁𝐿 at a grocery store near you, pretty much anywhere in the Southeast. Walk up in there and say, Country Pleasing, please. And they'll know what you're talking about.
I was born and raised in Greenville. I've always called Greenville home. This is where I, was raised, went to high school, graduated high school, worked all my life here leading up to going to college. So even when I moved from Greenville, I always told people, they asked me where you're from, I always said I'm from Greenville. I have mother, father, brother, niece, aunt, all live here in Greenville. So this is home. This is where I, live, and I've just always called it home. Small town, I feel like I could walk in any place tomorrow and know 2 to 3 people in there. It's small town. Someone's on the side of the road broken down. Hey, you need a boost, flat tire, you need help changing it. That's just kind of, what I love about this area. The blues and the food and everything that comes along with the Mississippi Delta that I love. I tell people all the time, my business cards have my cell phone number on them for a reason. Insurance doesn't happen from 8 to 5. When you need.
All right. Back with you, I'm Matt. In the Bureau, the Farm Bureau Insurance Studio. Farm Bureau, go! With the home team. Danny commented and said that wasn't a basketball game, that was a bonfire. Now, which reminds me, what was it, that guy who went on the internet rant, who's a State fan? He called it not a bonfire, but a barn fire.
This is a barn fire!
Yeah, I'm reminded. All right, you can be a part of the show. Text me, call me. You can comment on the live stream. Drop a comment on YouTube or Facebook if you're in there. The Murray West live thread. Check them out at murraywest.com. Contract embroidery company right here in Mississippi. Mention you can text me on the Country Pleasing text line. And the number to text is 885-3776. 601 number. 885-3776. You can also call me on the Divini Equipment phone line. Divini Equipment in Madison and in Jackson. Your Kubota dealer, the oldest Kubota dealer in the U.S., in fact. Means they've been doing it better, longer than anyone else right here at home at Divini. The number to call, 897-1059, 601 number. 897-1059. What a treat. The phone rang right now on line 1 of the Divini phone. Mr. Buttermilk Biscuit himself, Chicken Hawk. What's up?
Well, man, I'm kidding. I'm up and around now. I've been thinking about. Well, let me first off wave at all my Hulkamaniacs out there. The Hulkster, full of titanium, and I'm thinking about changing my handle to the Titanium Hulk. I got the doggone much metal up in me now, man. I'm talking about, I'm stout now, brother. I'm reinforced. That's it. I'm a reinforced version Chicken Hawk. Yeah, I done went through the pit stop. That's what I was doing a while ago. Beaver put me on hold for 4 or 5 minutes, man. I was having to listen to all that advertising. And anyway, yeah, y'all don't know. You and Jake and Beav, y'all really need to go to the altar. Next Sunday you go to church, something else. Right. I know for a fact that your church has altar call. The other two, I have to talk to them about that. But y'all gonna have to go to that altar call, because the only way that I could even call in, and then next week, I think Beaver told you what I'm coming in studio. And after I leave there, corporate got a plane waiting on me, and I'm going to fly out to Denver, and then I'm going to rent me a car, and I'm going to drive up top of the flag there and see Jason, and he better have me some snow because I've been watching TV. This year, he can't lie about no doggone, what you call it when you ain't got no, what we going through, drought.
Yeah.
He can't holler about no drought on the flag. So I want a maroon. If you listen, Jason, I want a maroon and white, which you ain't got to do nothing for the white because, you know, God does that with the snow. But I want you to get some maroon food color, and I want you to make me a maroon and white snowman. Don't you think he ought to do that after all these years?
I do, yes. I think he owes it to you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how's the Queen doing?
She's doing great. She's doing great. And she's going to be glad to hear when I tell her that you called in today. She's going to be glad to hear that.
Well, tell her thank you. She going to come with you next Tuesday?
No, it'll be a solo trip.
All right. Well, like I told Beaver, I'm bringing y'all some deer meat.
Hey, let's go.
You know, bring y'all some deer meat. I don't really know what colors I got out there, but I'll bring you a few colors of the rainbow.
All right.
And it's good stuff.
I guarantee you it is.
Yeah, and Beaver, he's going to let me ring the professor's bell.
Oh, he is. That's great. You know, back in the day, the professor was really protective of that bell. Like he didn't want anybody else ringing it.
Well, but he did me. And so you got to go way back. This might have been when you was over at that communist radio station before you come over here. Because me and you both was over there at that communist radio station. I was always on about this time over there at it. And then when you left the communist station, I come on over here with you. But Roger, when our buddy was still living,
yep.
Roger said he didn't care about the professor saying that he was the only one to ring that bell.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I sat right there in the middle when he come through the door, put my headphones on and everything, you know, got tuned up, revved up, and rared up, and I rung that bell. I rung that bell more than one time. Did I ring that bell?
That's great.
And then when the professor come in, I rubbed it in his face. I said, "Watch this." I know you probably already know because you was already listening because you knew I was coming. But I said, "I'm gonna do it one more time." Ding,
bing.
But yeah, I'm getting ready for the new season. I can't wait. I figure we're gonna sling the football around the field more than we ever have. I hope so. And we lost some, gained some. I ain't just see about the two new ones.
Yeah.
And I got to have my meeting with Coach Levy. See, you know, I always have to break in the new coach because, you know, they know that I'm Mr. MSU and that, you know,
right.
They have to get my feedback.
Sure.
You remember that? You know all that.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
right.
every one of them I've met with and,
it's very important.
You know, they get my input.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to input him here for long. But
all right.
after I leave Flag, I'm going to drive on over to Portland over there to corporate.
Yep.
And we got to renegotiate, man, because after December the 31st, they cut me off of my French benefit. So I got to go out there and renegotiate my contract since I can walk and talk now, and I ain't got all this cage
at the same time. Walk and talk at the same time.
Well, yeah, you know, I got me a stick. People, you know, but this people, it's kind of like one of them 007 sticks. It's made out of black walnut. Lou Bell got it for me.
Okay.
And I got a tattoo on my left shoulder, and this thing has got a stainless steel. Oh, no, it ain't. It's pure silver. It's pretty. I'll be on it because I'll fall if I ain't got it. I can't run yet.
Yeah.
Can't
you
run
look.
yet.
So you got a walking stick like Coach Sherrill. Last time I saw Coach Sherrill back during the football season, he came for that reunion, and he had one of those big, long wooden sticks, and the guys told him that he looked like Moses. He got a big kick out of that. You know, Coach Sherrill just had a hip replacement, though, so he's on the road to recovery, so he's doing good.
Well, Lou Bell, she count the days down. She said that she told me, I guess last night, she got one more January. because she's going to teach one more year after this year is out. She'll get her last paycheck next August because she gets paid year round. And then she's going to quit, and then we're going to go on tour. So that's one thing I got to talk to corporate about. It's kind of helping me out with the gas. You know, I'll pay for my own eat if they help me out with the gas. Because we're going to call in, you know, and I told Lou we're going to stop out there. So, Jason, don't run, Bubba, because I'll be able to run by time. So don't try to outrun the hawk. But we're going to go out, you know, and do some stuff and do some remotes and all that. I'm working all that up, you know, and I'm talking over weed. I got to have your signature, they said, and Beaver. So, you know, we'll work all that out next Tuesday. But tell Queen that, and little Queen, boy, ain't she getting big.
I tell you what, she's taller than her mama right now already.
But I tell you what, it don't make it. Let me ask you this, bless her heart. She ain't like her mama, is she? She ain't one of them school up northers, is
she? She wants to be a vet and go to Mississippi State.
Hell, that's what I'm talking about. Hashtag Hell State, you go, little Queen. Woo!
I know you'd like that.
All right, brother. Look, hey, I done, you know, took up my time because this time here is free. See, I ain't on the payroll right now till I get out there to the corporate. So anyway, love you, Hell State, and see ya.
Move your butt to the funky beat.
Buttermilk biscuit. And the Hawk is back. And the Hawkamaniacs in unison stand up, get on their feet. Good to hear from Chicken Hawk. Just really tickled that he's healing up. Jason in Flagstaff, Arizona says, quote, the communist radio station got me. He said, I felt it in my bones. Oh, it's good to hear from Mr. Hawk. All right, more of your texts and a very important day. Well, you know, semi-important day in the history of television today, and I'll tell you why when we come back. I'm Matt in the Bureau, the Farm Bureau Insurance Studio. Farm Bureau Insurance. Go with the home team. Stick around.
I was born and raised in Greenville. I've always called Greenville home. This is where I, you know, was raised, went to high school, graduated high school, worked all my life here leading up to going to college. So even when I moved from Greenville, I always told people, they asked me where you're from, I always said I'm from Greenville. I have mother, father, brother, niece, aunt, all live here in Greenville. So this is home. This is where I, you know, live, and I've just always called it home. Small town, I feel like I could walk in any place tomorrow and know 2 to 3 people in there. It's small town. Someone's on the side of the road broken down, hey, you need a boost, flat tire, you need help changing it. You know, that's just kind of what I love about this area, the blues and the food and everything that comes along with the Mississippi Delta that I love. I tell people all the time, my business cards have my cell phone number on them for a reason. Insurance doesn't happen from 8 to 5. When you need me, it's going to be after 5. It hardly ever happens where you have a wreck, get pulled over, need an insurance card, wind blows, shingles off your roof. All these things happen, and it's typically after 5. And so the ability for someone to call me, get in contact with me, text me, ask me a question, and that's what it's about to me, is helping the people that we serve, is taking care of people, and them knowing that they can count on me whenever they need me. I am Brian Street with Farm Bureau Insurance in Washington County, and we are your home team.
Y'all have heard me talk about Murray West and MurrayWest.com. They made the hat that I'm wearing. Got the Natchez Trace logo on it. I've told you a little bit about what they are. Contract embroidery company here in Mississippi. Started back in 1996, family owned. They do a phenomenal job, and I got to go visit their place up in New Albany. Let me show you a little bit about it. When I say they do quality stuff, they really do. And so custom apparel, team stuff, really and truly, just about every high school in the state is sending their embroidered, team gear, jackets, shirts, hats, stuff. Baseball teams, football teams, they're sending it to the folks at Murray West in New Albany. You go to their website, MurrayWest.com, you go to the bottom, you can kind of see some of the Prairie Wildlife, Ole Miss Athletics, Gentile, others that they work with. Can't recommend them enough. If you need your logo printed, embroidered, sewn on to anything, custom apparel and other stuff, make sure you go there. Murray West, you can find them online, MurrayWest.com. Back with you. Rolling along here on this Reaction Monday. Roshana commented, she's on Facebook, on the Murray West live thread. She said, Matt, how about our Lady Dogs? 5 quad 1 wins. And I'm going to tell you what now. Yeah, they're playing well. And thank goodness, got something to follow there right now. You're not giving up on the men, but they're just kind of, floundering a little bit, trying to keep their nose above water. But the women, they're in good shape, having a good year. Win a game like you do against LSU kind of gets everybody on board that might not have been already. Legba echoed that. He's on YouTube. He said the girls' game looked good yesterday. 3 good wins last week. I was disappointed with the boys' game, but we lost 2 players in that game. Thankfully, Hubbard is okay. Says, I hope DJ heals soon. I know. And what's interesting about that is the way Hubbard left the game versus the way DJ Jeffries left the game, you would have thought Hubbard was hurt a lot worse. When he first messed his up, he needed help getting off the floor. DJ Jeffries is limping around, still playing. Turns out he's the one that's hurt the worst. Over to the phone line, the Divini Equipment phone line. On line 2, More Bully. What's up, More Bully? Happy Monday.
Happy Monday, Matt. How's it going?
Peachy. Thanks for calling.
All right. I like it. Hey, dude, I saw your tweet.
Yeah.
I'll never call it X because it's just like our neighborhood grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be named for a family that owned it.
Yeah.
And a corporate company came in and bought it and changed the name, and we always call it the family name, and it won't change.
Right. No, I get it.
So, but anyway, I saw your tweet asking about weatherman. Now,
yes.
Has anyone about your favorite weatherman?
Okay. Well, and before you go, let me tell people who are listening, here's why More Bully is saying that. I put it on Twitter today. Today is National Weather Person Day. Like weatherman, weatherwoman, National Weather Person Day. And I said, name the one from your childhood. And then I got a big response. So that's what More Bully is referencing right there.
That's it. And ours growing up was on WLBT. It was Woody Asaph.
And of all the responses I've gotten that one the most, hands down, on
Sure.
Twitter and Facebook.
But I can't remember what descent he was.
Yeah.
It wasn't Palestinian.
Okay.
But it was something along those lines, but not. It was more of a Greek where he was from. But anyway, everybody used to think his name was ASAP, but his name was ASAP. And I have a legendary story about him.
Okay.
Like, I know you're not shocked. So, I was in this huge Christmas parade, sarcasm, in Bude, Mississippi.
Okay.
I was working for Governor Fordyce, and he had a scheduling conflict, but he always liked going to that parade. So he sent me and the press secretary, and we rode around in a cop car and waved at, the hundreds of thousands of people that were there.
Yeah.
And the story goes, Woody Asaph used to be the Grand Marshal pretty much every year.
Okay.
And one year they decided they wanted him to ride a horse. Well, they said, we don't know if that horse wasn't broken in yet or Woody did something to make him mad, but he took off for about a mile with Woody on it.
No. Like down the street?
Yeah. Yeah. I guess Woody hung on for dear life. Sure enough. And, he also would say when he was getting into the forecast, he said, let's see what the weatherman is saying.
Uh-huh.
And that's because he was not a meteorologist.
Oh, really?
He was just a guy, a personality. And he said he didn't want the people getting mad at him for being wrong. So he always said the weatherman. And he was also famous for the Santa Claus tracker.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Old school radar.
Uh-huh. Tracking Santa on that.
So
that's great.
That was him.
Hey, and some people have commented here that he was Lebanese American.
That's it. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Woody Asaph.
And just a good guy. He got a raw deal, too, but
okay.
That's all right. It happened.
Well, no, tell me more about that raw deal. I need all the details right here on the radio.
Well, I think he was just fired, like just all of a sudden just fired. Is the way I understand it. I've never confirmed it, but I've heard it from more than one source. So,
well, I mean, okay. So
it was about the time where Frank Melton took over, I think.
Okay.
And I don't know. I guess it's like getting a new head coach, bringing in your own people. And that's really the only person I remember from young days.
Well, and
probably because that's what my parents watched.
How many years do you think he was at WLBT? Like, if you had to guess.
Oh, Lord. He was there at startup.
He was? Wow.
Man.
So
I don't know if it was the late 80s or early 90s when they let him go.
Okay, so
it was at least 40.
Okay, so here it is. He started working at WLBT in 1953, and his first day on the air was in December of 1953. Okay. But it doesn't say what this thing on Wikipedia though does not say what year he finished doing. Okay, here it is. I got it. I pulled it up on another link. 1953 to 2001.
What?
Yep. So according to
God.
All right. So not just what he was a couple of years shy of 50 years there.
Right.
So 2001 was last year. It says he passed away in Raymond in 2009 at the age of 92.
Yeah.
It says he was actually born.
I would have never guessed the 2000s.
Yeah, 2001. So he was actually born in Macomb in 1917. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
How about that?
Well, I tell these young people that I run into, I said, well, they'll say that I was born in 2003, or just throw something out there.
Yeah.
I said, well, I'm so old. I was born in the 1900s.
Here's a couple things that it says about Woody Asaph that you'll find interesting. All right. In 1969, Woody Asaph hosted a benefit that starred Bob Hope, and it raised $2.5 million for victims of Hurricane Camille. Now, you might have to look this up, but I think that's the same event that Elvis Presley took part in and performed.
I bet it is. I bet it is.
So in other words, I mean, Woody Asaph would have hosted an event that raised $2.5 million in 1969 where Bob Hope and Elvis Presley attended. Now, how about that? And
that's all.
He passed away in 2009, but it says that his wife also did. I think she preceded him earlier in 2009, and they were married for 65 years.
Isn't it interesting, like when people have been married that long and their companion passes away?
Yep.
They're not far.
Yeah.
Lonely.
Yeah.
They die of loneliness, I guarantee you.
Yeah, broken heart, loneliness.
And that happened with my aunt. My uncle passed away, and 2.5 weeks later, she passed away.
Mm-hmm.
Sure did.
Well, and you think about this too. Okay, think about this comparison, more bully. You know how people have always said about Jack Crystal, guys who were calling games in his era is, they'll never be the same because they were the eyes of fans. Like you didn't have, you didn't have internet clips, and not all the games were televised, and so. Nobody will ever be more popular to the Mississippi State fan base than Jack Crystal was all those years calling those games because of the era. Well, the same thing for the local weatherman. Now think about that. Local weatherman, local TV. There was no internet. There was no way you could pull up your phone and look at a radar. You wanted a weather, you either knew it yourself or you watched Woody Asaph. Period. For almost 50 years. It's crazy.
I think the longest standing one right now is probably David Hartman at APT, if I had to guess.
Hey, when I was growing up in Russellville, Alabama, more bully, we watched the news in Huntsville, and Gary Dobbs was the weatherman in Huntsville. And one time at the rec center, when we were like 10 years old, Gary Dobbs walked in there because he was bringing his son to play basketball, Little League basketball with us. And when Gary Dobbs, the weatherman, walked in the rec center in Russellville, the basketball gym, you would have thought that Michael Jackson just walked in there doing a moonwalk.
Yeah.
We ran up to Gary Dobbs and wanted to touch him, and he's like, "Get off me, yo! Leave me alone a minute. It's cool." We're like, "Gary Dobbs!" We wanted autographs and everything. I'll never forget that. The weatherman was big time famous.
I don't think the kids these days are fascinated with people like we were, but
no,
I think
not.
Howard Ballou with us, Howard Ballou and Maggie Wade. Those are two of the best that we would probably go nuts over in a very mature way.
Hey, more bully, you think anybody, since you and I do so much talking on the radio, like me, you, and Beaver, you think people look at us that way? Me, you, and Beaver?
Oh, man, no doubt. Especially with my new truck tag, baby.
It's all about the truck tag.
I hadn't seen it light up the internet yet. So.
He's still waiting on that. He's waiting. He's just waiting, folks.
I'm waiting on my tag to go viral, buddy. Waiting on it to go viral.
That's great.
All right, dude. Have a good one.
See you. The viral truck tag. You might be a redneck. Stick around.
Today's game from Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
Time was their breakfasts were gloomy. They just didn't feel right, and they didn't know a delicious cereal could help their sad plight. So they tried this and tried that. But irregularity kept coming back all the same. For as often the case, lack of bulk in their diet was actually to blame. Once at the grocer's, the wife was so drooping and sagging that a neighbor said, "Get on Kellogg's All-Bran wagon. Why, All-Bran has a flavor that's scrumptious to eat. So rich and nut-like, makes breakfast a treat. And of course, Kellogg's All-Bran can help you each day to youthful regularity, the dietary way." "Well, it might do some good," said the wife with a sigh. "Guess I'll get some All-Bran and give it a try." Soon, breakfasts at her house were happy and bright, for delicious Kellogg's All-Bran set their day off right. Yes, All-Bran supplies all the bulk in your diet, you see, that you may need for youthful regularity. And no half-brand cereal possibly can provide this help as surely as Kellogg's All-Bran. A delicious, non-habit-forming aid to your diet. You're sure to like All-Bran. Just buy it and try it.
Get on the Kellogg's All-Bran wagon with the best bran in the land. The cereal that tastes grand, the cereal that's all bran, a breakfast treat that can't be beat. Be a regular guy and climb aboard the All-Bran wagon. Eat Kellogg's All-Bran.
What is the secret of this enchanted book? What wonders are hidden within its pages? What magical spell does it cast on all who read it? What is the secret of the never-ending story?
But that's impossible!
You will enter a world where a young boy's imagination becomes a vivid reality. The world of Atreyu and Artax, the Rockbiter, and a good and kind gnome. A world that is vast and eternal, treacherous and dazzling, unforgettable and free. For anyone who's ever made a wish, believed in a fantasy, or had a dream, this is the never-ending story.
It's a new thing, it's a fun thing, it's a swing wing.
It's a what?
It's a swing wing, it's a wing wing. A brand new classic grand fun thing.
It's a what?
It's a swing wing. A fun thing. And now it's your favorite store thing.
It's a what?
Mazda announces some great news for truck buyers. Right now, you can beat the already outstanding value of the $67.95 Mazda SE5. Introducing Mazda SE5 Plus 5. $625 worth of extra features at no extra charge from Mazda. You get a bed liner, mud guards, sliding rear window, floor mats, and AM/FM stereo. That's a $625 value at no extra charge. But hurry, offer ends soon.
Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so
I'm
jealous.
𝐷𝐸 𝐻𝐿𝐶𝐻 with Washington County Farm Bureau Insurance.
I'm Scott Rainwater with Farm Bureau Insurance here in Washington County.
I'm Blake Policini with Washington County Farm Bureau.
I'm Brian Street with Farm Bureau Insurance in Washington County, and we are your home team.
Y'all have heard me talk about Murray West and MurrayWest.com. They made the hat that I'm wearing. Got the Natchez Trace logo on it. I've told you a little bit about what they are. Contract embroidery company here in Mississippi. Started back in 1996, family owned. They do a phenomenal job, and I got to go visit their place up in New Albany. Let me show you a little bit about it. When I say they do quality stuff, they really do. And so custom apparel, team stuff, I mean, really and truly, just about every high school in the state is sending their embroidered, team gear, jackets, shirts, hats, stuff. Baseball teams, football teams, they're sending it to the folks at Murray West in New Albany. You go to their website, murraywest.com. You go to the bottom, you can kind of see some of the Prairie Wildlife, Ole Miss Athletics, Gentile, others that they work with.
And worldwide.
Now, here we go.
At thezone1059.com.
Hour number 2. Off and running with you. Welcome in. Coming to your comments and your texts and your phone calls here in hour 2. Staying connected to you because of C Spire, the #1 network in Mississippi. C Spire, customer inspired. Check them out at cspire.com. You can get into that C Spire fiber home internet service. Get it in your house for your home. The fastest, broadest, biggest, best for watching TV and playing games and anything else and browsing, and if we still use that term, scrolling through the internet. It is lightning fast, and it can handle a whole bunch. So C Spire Fiber Home Internet, you need to get it if it's available to you, and you can save some money. Use my name. When you check out, use my name. Use Wyatt, W-Y-A-T-T, my last name, Wyatt. Use code Wyatt at checkout at cspire.com or on the phone with a customer service rep and get your first 2 months of C Spire Fiber Home Internet absolutely free. Isn't it great? Isn't free great? Well, I'll answer for you. Yeah, it's great. Headlines are great. Headlines, hour 2.
Good evening. I'm Ron Burgundy, and this is what's happening in your world.
Good evening and welcome to Eyewitness News.
Here's what's making news.
Here it is. So I told you this, the Big Ten and the SEC are getting their heads together. The Power 2, if you will. I'll go ahead and say that. They're going to get together and work together. Presidents, chancellors, ADs from the Big Ten and the SEC are going to work together to address, in their words, significant challenges facing college athletics. Looks like a big 2 to me. Also, Patrick Mahomes' father has been arrested for DWI in Tyler, Texas. So 1 week, it happened on Saturday, so basically 1 week ahead of the Super Bowl when his son will go for back-to-back Super Bowl titles. Pat Mahomes Sr. arrested driving while intoxicated. Wyndham Clark is your Pebble Beach Pro-Am champ. They canceled the 4th round. He only played 3. In one of those 3 rounds, he shot a 60 as a record. And he had one stop on the lip of the cup that far from a 59. Pretty amazing. And then over the weekend, State and Ole Miss men's team got whipped. The Ole Miss women had to play South Carolina. Actually played pretty well, but came up short. And the State women picked up a win at Texas A&M. So we're 1 out of 4 on the weekend. And those are your headlines. Now over to the Deviney Equipment phone line. By the way, hey, your headline's brought to you by the Bank of England Mortgage and Went McGee. Y'all know Went? Hey, when y'all see Went out today, tell him, hey, or you see him at the soccer field, tell him, hey, Matt was talking about you today on the radio. My man, Went McGee, the mortgage man. Go to mortgagemanms.com. Bank of England Mortgage, they've got locations in Ridgeland, as you know, but also now in Starkville, Oxford, and in Tupelo. And they have an incredible program right now with over $1 million, 1.55 to be exact, for first-time home buyers. So you can get money towards the purchase of your first home, money that you can use to get in that first home and not have to pay it back. So go see him, mortgagemanms.com. That's Went McGee. All right, over to the phone line, the Deviney Equipment phone line. Deviney Equipment, Madison and in Jackson. On line 1, my man Winslow. What's up, Winslow?
Matt, I got a little story to tell you about how popular the weatherman is.
All right.
A few years ago, well, for a long time, I was the spokesman for, I guess, what we'll call a fairly universal public service. And so I got invited to go and speak to this seniors group one time. And, you know, had to get there about 11, and then we were, they asked me to come and speak, and then there was going to be a lunch after it and everything. Well, they didn't tell me that there were going to be 2 speakers there that day. And when I get there, I find out that I'm going up against David Hartley. And so she tells me, okay, you're in this room and you're in that room. And they had asked me to bring like 40 handouts. So I did. And I get in there, and when I get in there, it comes time to start, and there's only like 2 or 3 people in there. Mm-hmm. And so somebody would trickle in, and then, 2 or 3 more. And so I one guy came in, and I said, come on in, sir, plenty of room. I said, maybe we'll give it a few more minutes. And he says, yeah, he said, I was going to the weatherman, but it's full in there, So I wind up speaking to about half a dozen people, and David Hartman has a packed room. It was kind of funny. I guess the worst thing was that at lunch, I'm sitting there, and so many of them came up and apologized for not coming into my session, but going to David's, and I said, it's okay, I understand. I probably would have picked his too.
Yeah, it's a tough act to follow.
He's such a popular guy.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what?
I said, that's a tough act to follow. It really is.
Yeah, I was not his warm-up act. I was his overflow act.
The overflow. Okay, I got you. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, they're popular, all right. I don't know how much time over the years, Winslow, you were able to spend in North Mississippi, but and for a lot of people listening, this would be somebody they might have encountered on television when they were in school at Mississippi State. Because, Winslow in Starkville, while you're there, you can pick up 2 news stations on TV, local, right? One is WCBI out of Columbus, and the other one was WTVA out of Tupelo. And WCBI was a CBS.
I grew up in Choctaw County, so
okay.
I know what you're talking about.
All right, so well then you'd be familiar with who the longtime weatherman at WTVA in Tupelo was, Dick Rice.
Yes, I remember him.
Yeah. Mr. Rice passed away a couple of years ago from COVID here in Tupelo. But, when I went to work at the TV station out of college, or just a year or so after college, around 2001, he was still the what would you call it? The lead meteorologist there at WTVA. And he was the guy. Like, you had news anchors, you had sports anchors, but you had Dick Rice. He was the man, okay, because he was the weatherman. And he was nice to everybody. And, but he was really focused. It was time to get to work. He'd get to work. And, I'm just a new guy there. And Mr. Rice, Winslow, he had a couple of cars, but one of them was like an antique, fixed-up Volkswagen Beetle. And no, not Beetle, a Bug. Is that what they call it, the Bug? I guess it's the same thing. You know what I'm talking about.
Right.
And he had it painted light blue, and it was nice. And one night after the 10 o'clock news at about 10:45, I was backing my car out in the parking lot and backed right into the bumper, the chrome bumper of that classic Volkswagen Bug he had sitting there. And this was before security cameras. So, in reality, Winslow, I could have skedaddled and nobody would have ever known it, right? There were other cars there. I thought, I can't do that. So I go in, I say, hey, Mr. Rice, I backed into your bumper out here and I want to let you know, and I'll take care of it if you let me know. So we go out and look. We go out and look at it. He says, okay, I tell you what. He says, I know where I can get this part, okay? And I said, well, Mr. Rice, once you find it, you let me know what it costs. And he said, okay. It's okay. So he let me know. And I think I paid like maybe $300 to get that part and get it put on for his Volkswagen. And, a lot of people might scowl at that thinking, he's an older guy, he's established, and this was a young kid out of college, hit his bumper. But it was the right thing to do, and he let me pay for it, which was the right thing to do. And after that, man, I moved up a notch in his book. And he was as good to me as he could be. And we were friends. We became friends. Well, then Annabeth, the homecoming queen, showed up, fresh out of school, became a young anchor. And she became really good. He kind of took her under her wing. He was so good to her. Long story short, we go on, and Annabeth and I are married, and we had Mary Liddy. And Mr. Rice would call us about, once a month at least, and want to take us to dinner and make sure we bring Mary Liddy. Well, at one point we met at the Cracker Barrel, and that's just kind of what became our routine. And we would go about once a month, go out to eat with him, even after he retired. And he would always buy something for Mary Liddy. Just about, really, every time we go somewhere, he'd buy her something. He'd say, let's go in here. All right, find something you want. And she'd get it. He'd buy it for her. And I didn't think about this until we were, maybe even leaving from his funeral that day a couple of years ago. But I thought, he had that in him. There's no doubt. But I think part of that too was he I think wanted to sort of even out for me buying his bumper all those years earlier. And every time he'd see us, he'd buy Mary Liddy something at Cracker Barrel. Anyway, he was a special guy. And I think for me, it sort of paints a picture of sometimes we see these guys on TV, Winslow, and they kind of become either characters or almost like characters in a movie. And sometimes like coaches, we forget they really are just everyday dudes just like us,
Yeah. Do you know when WTVA went on the air? Because for some reason, living up in that area there in Choctaw County, we were dependent on WLBT in Jackson for NBC. And then when they had that Candlestick tornado that tore down WLBT's tower, our area really lost touch with NBC programming until WTVA kind of showed up. And I don't know if they went on the air or increased their power or what. It left kind of a gap there. A lot of the shows that were on NBC during those late 60s years, I was a kid, but I never knew about it.
Right. Okay. So WTVA, it actually began with different call letters, but that station in the same spot there in Tupelo, it's the same signal and all, began in 1957. Originally, it was called WTWV. Okay. But then, from 57 to 79, let me back up, from 57 to 79, so for 22 years, it was known as WTWV. But then in 79, in July of that year, it changed its call letters to WTVA, obviously kind of, mirroring the Tennessee Valley Authority area, which is, that area is kind of the main. And a guy named Frank Spain, was the CEO of that station that entire time. Frank was like this brilliant engineer who, I think, born and raised in Tupelo. In fact, there's this old famous kind of historical house called the Spain House, and it's the one that he and his family grew up in. And one of these where they pick up the entire house and moved it several blocks to save it years ago. That was his house.
Yeah.
And he, made all kinds of money by designing some particular type of, technology that began to be used almost universally for television broadcast stuff. Well, he became like a multi-millionaire off this, this technology. He comes back, buys a TV station, and runs it in his hometown of Tupelo, Mississippi. Mr. Spain hired me. He was still the CEO up until he died in 2006. But he was this really neat guy and ran that TV station all those years. And it was an NBC affiliate the whole time. In fact, another piece of trivia, Winslow, in Tupelo, it's closed now. The building is still there by the arena. It was called the Tupelo Automobile Museum. You remember that?
Yeah.
Okay, so the auto collection is gone, but there's this massive building that Tupelo built 20 years ago, whatever it was, next to the arena downtown called the Tupelo Automobile Museum, and it used to house the entire car collection of Frank Spain, the guy I'm talking about that owned that TV station. It was a world-class automobile collection from every era you could possibly think of, from one-of-a-kinds to everything. He had a car that he bought from Elvis and all this stuff now. And, he passed away in 2006. The Automobile Museum stayed open for a while. Eventually his, surviving family decided to, I guess, sell the collection. And about 2 or 3 years ago, they sold all the cars out of that collection. And Jay Leno was even one of the people that came to Tupelo. People saw him around town because he came in looking through those cars and picking through them and deciding which ones he wanted. And now the entire thing is shut down. But yeah, there's a little bit of the history on that.
Is there still a fair in Tupelo?
Well, no, they used to have that. Other than the Elvis Festival, they used to have that thing they called Ole Putt. It was Tupelo spelled backwards. They don't do that anymore. If that's what you mean.
Yeah, but there was a fair in Tupelo for many, many years. I mean, that's one of the places where Elvis played early in his career.
Yeah.
And my mother's family was from up there, and for years that was the only fair that I got to go to. I never went to the Jackson Fair until I was in high school, and came with a school group because our family always made the fair trips to Tupelo.
Yeah. Well, it's not that kind of thing anymore. Now, I'll tell you what they do have in Tupelo that's been going on for a while. It happens every May, like the first or second weekend in May. It's called the Gumtree Festival. That may be what sort of the fair, as you're talking about, might have sort of morphed into. That's been going on for a long time, a yearly thing. It's a big deal called the Gumtree Festival, and it's about 2 days worth of stuff, and they have a big 10K run through town and all that stuff.
Yeah. I've heard of the run before, but I never ran it back in those days.
Yeah, you didn't? Were you a runner, or are you just joking?
Yeah. No, I did.
Really?
In fact, I had a picture published on the front page of the Clarion Ledger one time.
Wow. Man, I didn't know I was talking to an athlete.
Yeah, the governor used to have a 5-mile run through downtown, and that was always a fun thing. And and I'm trying to think, one of the hospitals used to have one, and the shirt they would give you was a scrub.
Yeah,
and those were really cool.
How about that? That is cool. Hey, let me tell you what happened one year at the Gumtree 10K run. Somebody came up with this bright idea, Winslow, of doing a live sort of on-the-phone radio broadcast tracking the leaders of the Gumtree 10K live on the radio. This is when I was working for the CVB back in like 2009. Okay, so we had cell phones now, right? So they were like, well, look, here's what we'll do on the radio station. We'll do like a live remote, okay? And Matt, we're going to put you in the back of a pickup truck, and you're going to ride along in front of the leaders in the race, and we're going to talk to you on the phone, and you'll update us on who's leading. And then through the finish. Okay, and I don't think like one person listened to it. But all I know, Winslow, is that I sat in the back of a pickup truck on the phone, riding along in front of, and it was this guy from Kenya who won the run that year, the 10K. And almost immediately, I was blown away at how fast we were moving the entire time, really, to stay in front of this guy in a 10K. Like, we were moving. And, part of that run at 10K in Tupelo, the Gumtree, is very hilly, very up and down hills. But so that particular day, not being someone who could experience running that fast for that long a period of time myself, to feel it, at that time I had hair, to feel the wind blowing through my hair in the back of a truck was pretty doggone incredible. So they'd earned my respect now, those distance runners like yourself.
And it was live? They did a live shot? Were you doing that?
Yeah, I was on the phone.
Oh, you playing with fire then.
Oh, no. Well,
anything can happen live.
All we had to do was hit a pothole, and, who knows what you'd hear. But, yeah, we pulled it off somehow, some way. Well, good stuff, man. It's good to talk to you. Good to hear your voice as always.
Thank you, man.
Thank you. Bye. Call me anytime. Love hearing stories from Winslow and others and everybody else. All right, let's see. Country Please and text line. Jason in Flagstaff, Arizona says, yeah, he's from up in this area. He remembers it. Dick Rice was the weatherman. Sort of his right-hand man in the weather department, John DeLusick. Terry Smith was your lead news anchor and news director at WTVA, and Will Kohlmeyer, who he called Coal Miner, were institutions around Tupelo. And you could, no doubt. Now, Will and Terry and John, they all still live here. John's still working at the TV station. But still see them all the time, for sure. Now, RT, in regard to Winslow's call, RT said if you're going to go to the Jackson Fair, you got to pack heat. It might not even be funny. Kenny Don't Call Me Ken said, one summer back in the late 70s in the Houston, Texas area, says it was a gazillion degrees outside, so the local weatherman was doing the even news wearing a hooded parka from inside of an area cold storage locker, and it was hilarious. Now that's pretty funny right there. I mean, what was the point? Just to do it? Just to rub it in? Hey, y'all are hot, but look at me, I'm in the freezer. I mean, Lance texts the show. And I'm sure he's talking about severe weather, but he said, talking about weathermen, you knew when Patrick Ellis took his jacket off, it was serious. See, we're that way now in the Tupelo area. Now the lead meteorologist at WTVA in North Mississippi is a guy named Matt Lobhon, who in recent years has had some times where he's kind of even had clips that went viral from, severe weather coverage. Matt's a great guy and really good at his job, but he'll wear suspenders, see? And that jacket comes off and he's standing there in suspenders on TV. You know something's up. Mm-hmm. And Miko on the Country Pleasing text says, Matt, I heard you talking about popular weathermen. Have fond memories of the theme music, What Woody Says. Always watched Mr. Asaph with my grandfather, and he was the midday advisor for the coming weather for his crops. Well, how about that? Isn't that cool? Yeah, it's kind of those things, those broadcasts. So it's like the weatherman in the old days on TV, the radio broadcaster in the old days for ball games. They kind of became a part of our routine, a part of our world, and a part of our memories over the years. And some of that still holds true today, I'm sure. All right, stick around.
I'm Eddie Holcomb with Washington County Farm Bureau Insurance.
I'm Scott Rainwater with Farm Bureau Insurance here in Washington County.
I'm Blake Policini with Washington County Farm Bureau.
I'm Brian Street with Farm Bureau Insurance in Washington County, and we are your home team.
Y'all have heard me talk about Murray West and MurrayWest.com. They made the hat that I'm wearing. Got the Natchez Trace logo on it. I've told you a little bit about what they are. Contract embroidery company here in Mississippi. Started back in 1996, family owned. They do a phenomenal job, and I got to go visit their place up in New Albany. Let me show you a little bit about it. When I say they do quality stuff, they really do. And so custom apparel, team stuff, I mean, really and truly, just about every high school in the state is sending their embroidered, team gear, jackets, shirts, hats, stuff. Baseball teams, football teams, they're sending it to the folks at Murray West in New Albany. You go to their website, MurrayWest.com, you go to the bottom, you can kind of see some of the Prairie Wildlife, Ole Miss Athletics, Gentile, others that they work with. Can't recommend them enough. If you need your logo printed, embroidered, sewn on to anything, custom apparel and other stuff, make sure you go there. Murray West, you can find them online. MurrayWest.com. That's MURRY West.com.
I had this opportunity come up to a friend of mine that was an agent here at Farm Bureau that, he said this may be something I like to do because he knew I was involved in the community. And what we do, we're supporting the community. We're doing stuff to protect the members of our community. I've been here almost a decade. And what we do, we help people every day through the products we sell. We make recommendations to them, stuff to protect their assets, protect their lives, their families, and we're local. We're local people. Everybody that works in this office has grown up here, lived here, played ball in this community. I've coached in this community, been on the park boards, the sports league boards, the booster club boards. The community is what's important here in Farm Bureau. We push the local community. We're a Mississippi company. That's a Washington School team ball from 2019. Greg Wallace was the head coach then, and him and I were really good friends. I've been in Greenville my whole entire life. My family's been here. This is home. I'm not going anywhere. I'm here to support the people of Washington County, protect them. I'm Scott Rainwater with Farm Bureau Insurance here in Washington County. We are the home team.
I think you know what time it is. It's time to eat. Country pleasing, jalapeno and cheddar, green onion. And no, it's not a grill, see that? But the fire is just about burnt down enough where it's time to put some of this on there. And the only decision when it comes to country pleasing sausage is which flavor, jalapeno and cheddar or maybe green onion. Both.
Break me off a piece of that.
Look at that. You know what that is? That's real green onion. Like that monkey who set his tail on a railroad track. It won't be long now.
Losing again. You're going to hear about them all and get to talk about it with Matt Wyatt right here, right now on the Zone 105.9 and worldwide at thezone1059.com.
Back with you. I'm Matt in the Bureau, the Farm Bureau Insurance Studio. And thanks to Julie, she straightened me out on Twitter. Said the fair that Winslow was talking about, it was in Tupelo. It says it was at the location of Fair Park, hence the name. It says Gumtree Festival didn't come from the fair. They used to have a Lee County Fairgrounds and Ag show. Yeah, so, you know, now we have Fair Park, but as far as I know, they don't have like the fair, you know, coming down there anymore. You know, and again, so you're going way on back, and I guess that would have been the location and the fair of the famous photos of Elvis coming back and performing there. But like since then, like the Elvis Festival took over. That's kind of, everything has morphed and changed over the years. I'll tell you one thing that hadn't changed over the years, in my humble opinion. And it is the greatness of one of the greatest TV shows to ever be great. And that's the Andy Griffith Show. Now, some of y'all looked at your watch right now to see if it was the end of the Chuck Oliver Show. That might be the best thing about that show, when Chuck plays Andy Griffith theme at the end of it. But don't tell him I said that. On this day in 1962, the 50th episode of the Andy Griffith Show aired. Anybody remember the 50th episode? All right, look. If you know what the 50th episode is with me just saying the number, then call me, because you are like Andy Griffith Rain Man, all right? And I'll tell you. See if you remember this one. The name of the show was Jailbreak. It aired on this day, February 5th, 1962. 50th episode overall. It was the 18th episode in season 2. Guest starring, along with Andy and Barney, Bob Sweeney and Harvey Bullock. Barney clumsily lets a prisoner, played by Alan Melvin, escape. So Andy and Barney have to recapture him. By the way, those other guys were the writers. So y'all remember that? Jailbreak? Alan Melvin escaped. He outsmarted Barney. Remember that?
You know what?
Do you remember it, Bieber?
Is that the one where they tricked him with the boat?
Okay, see, I don't think it is. That was a different Jailbreak. See, that's what I was about to say, Beaver. There's more than one where the whole theme or the whole plot was a prisoner's escape. By the way, that reminds me, Mr. Beaver. You who just recently began watching this great show, how far along are you in your quest to watch a bunch of the Andy Griffith Show episodes you hadn't seen over the years?
I didn't get far. You know what? Now that it couldn't have been that one because I didn't even make it to episode 50.
Yeah.
Oh, that was, you know what? That was some loose, lazy writing then. Apparently, they just made multiples of the same story.
Well, and just like you and I discuss and others, certainly season 1, but even parts of season 2 were so much different the way they wrote it for Andy and everything before the show really got good in season 3. So maybe that's it. Didn't I tell you to like skip 1 and 2 and just go to season 3? I should have.
Yeah. I wanted to make it like official though. I wanted to start from the very beginning. And maybe if I would have started at 3, maybe I would have made it further though.
I think you would. Well, yeah, it was just different. Like Andy was a little more silly and kind of ruby in the first 2 seasons than he was later on. Anywho, there you go. On this day, 1962, it hit a benchmark of 50 episodes, 18 in season 2. That was one episode after the episode called The Jinx. Andy tried to help a Mayberry resident and end his apparent bad luck and convince him that he was not hexed, as many of the townspeople believed. Now, I remember that one. And it was one episode before an episode called A Medal for Opie. Opie must learn the value of good sportsmanship when he comes in last in a foot race he was sure to win. Oh, I remember that one too. Episode 52 was Barney and the Choir. And this is one everybody remembers. Barney joins the Mayberry Choir but proves to be a terrible singer. Not wanting to hurt Barney's feelings, Andy must find a way to keep him in the choir but neutralize his singing. Anybody out there remember how Andy did that? In that Andy Griffith episode, the choir, Barney and the Choir? Barney had a terrible singing voice. How did Andy find a way to keep him in the choir but neutralize his singing? Anybody remember that? I do. That's a good one. I'll tell you coming back. See, Blind Squirrel Sports, he doesn't remember it. Oh, I remember. I'll tell you in a minute if I don't see any of the correct answers. I'll mention it to you. On this day in sports history, it's really a birthday, but this we have got to hear. You hear me? Listen. It's going to take a minute. You've got to hear it. Born on this day in, what year was he born? 1934. Born on this day in 1934, the greatest home run hitter in the history of baseball. Hank Aaron. Henry Hank Aaron. This would have been his birthday. Passed away back in 21. But Hank Aaron, born on this day, February 5th, 1934. So to commemorate his birthday, here is Vin Scully all the way back in 74? 74. Every last bit of Vin Scully's call of Hank Aaron's record-breaking 715th home run to pass Babe Ruth.
Once again, a standing ovation for Henry Aaron. So the confrontation for the second time. Aaron walked in the second inning. He means the tying run at the plate now. So we'll see what Downing does. Al at the belt delivers, and he's low, ball 1. And that just adds to the pressure. The crowd booing. Downing has to ignore the sound effects and stay a professional and pitch his game. 1 ball and no strikes. Aaron waiting. The outfield deep and straight away. Fastball is a high drive into deep left center field. Buckner goes back to the fence. It is gone. for baseball. What a marvelous moment for Atlanta and the state of Georgia. What a marvelous moment for the country and the world. A black man is getting a standing ovation in the Deep South for breaking a record of an all-time baseball idol. And it is a great moment for all of us, and particularly for Henry Aaron, who was met at home plate not only by every member of the Braves, but by his father and mother. He threw his arms around his father, and as he left the home plate area, his mother came running across the grass, threw her arms around his neck, kissed him for all she was worth. As Aaron circled the bases, the Dodgers on the infield shook his hand, and that was a memorable moment. Aaron is being mobbed by photographers. He is holding his right hand high in the air, and for the first time in a long time, that poker face of Aaron shows the tremendous strain and relief of what it must have been like to live with for the past several months.
So that's Vin Scully's call of Hank Aaron's 715th home run. That was in Atlanta of April of 70. Was it 74 or 75, y'all? Was it 75? But anyhow, today would have been Hank Aaron's birthday. Born on this day back in 1930. What did we say? 1937. Yeah. And on the Barney and the Choir episode, let's see. See, MSU, to Beaver's point, we had like matching storylines at one time or another, sort of. MSU 1980 says, Matt, didn't Andy get Gomer, who could sing great, to sing over him? Well, there was an episode where they identified Gomer as a great singer and put him in there, and it made Barney jealous. But the season 2 of the Andy Griffith Show, Barney and the Choir, they had, remember the old man Glenn Kripe, who had this big, booming baritone voice? They had him off stage singing. They told Barney that the microphone he was singing in was so sensitive that he couldn't sing loud, and they tricked him into just basically not making a sound. But as soon as he opened his mouth, he could hear Glenn Kripe, and he thought it was himself. So Barney performed it basically lip syncing with the choir, and really behind the curtain, it was old man Kripe, who was a world-class singer. And that was the deal there. All right. When we come back, something that we missed on Friday, and it was my fault. A good way to wrap up a Monday. Stick around.
Now's the time to get a great...
Have you ever wished for one product that would clean and shine almost everything in your house? Here it is. Clean and Shine. Like magic, Clean and Shine leaves a nice shine on fine wood furniture, so you don't need furniture polish. It cleans and shines mirrors, so you don't need glass cleaner for mirrors. It cleans and shines refrigerators, like this kitchen product. Even countertops, tile, and vinyl. Try new Clean and Shine, the foam that cleans and shines almost everything in your house.
Someday when people look at me, they'll say, there goes Roy Hobbs, the best there ever was.
TriStar Pictures presents Robert Redford in The Natural, the story of a father and a son.
You got a gift, Roy, but it's not enough.
Of love.
He means the world to me.
And desire.
I'm not waiting for true love to come along, Roy.
A champion.
A Roy Hobbs comes along once, maybe twice in everybody's lifetime.
And his destiny.
With or without the records, they'll remember you.
Best there is now, and best there ever will be.
I wouldn't bet against me.
I already have.
Robert Redford, Robert Duvall, Glenn Close, Kim Basinger, Wilford Brimley, Barbara Hershey, Robert Prosky, and Richard Farnsworth as Red. The Natural.
Would you believe I'm Bugs Bunny? I'm also the voice of many other cartoon characters. But in here, they don't care if I'm Elmer Fudd. So I carry an American Express card, the one card I need for travel and entertaining, for business and pleasure. Why, without this, the only way I'd get any attention is by saying, that's all, folks.
To apply for a card, call 800-528-8000.
The American Express card. Don't leave home without it.
The following is a presentation of TBS Sports. Exclusively on Superstation TBS. Superstation TBS presents the Atlanta Braves, America's team. Atlanta Braves baseball is brought to you by Budweiser. Beechwood Age for that distinctively clean, crisp taste that makes Budweiser the king of beers. This Bud's for you. By the official airline of the Atlanta Braves, Delta. We love to fly, and it shows. And by Eckerd Drugs, America's family drugstore.
If a man you've never met before suddenly gives you flowers, that's elation. The exciting new fragrance from Impulse.
Thursday, it's Cosby starting off a night of family fun. And leave it to Family Ties to keep the laughs coming.
Oh, no. What are we going to do?
Everything's under control. Then on Cheers, will Norm think on a friend to get a promotion?
Yeah, yes, yes.
And the fun continues with Night Court.
I'm here to strip for Dan Fielding.
Thursday.
Oh, what a meal, oh.
Hamburger Helper Lasagna.
For your family.
Authentic Italian taste.
Hearty robusto. But not too spicy, eh?
Hamburger Helper Lasagna turns your plain hamburger into a delicious Italian meal with authentic Italian taste.
Back with you. I'm Matt in the Bureau, the Farm Bureau Insurance Studio. Farm Bureau, go! With the home team. They are your home team at Farm Bureau Insurance all across the great state of Mississippi. Well, what do you need when you mess up? Make a mistake. Do something wrong. You need grace or mercy? Which one? Both? Huh? What about that thing that I saw this thing that used to hang on the wall at somebody's house, framed. It said, people need love the most when they deserve it the least. What about that? What's the difference? Well, listen, I messed up on Friday of last week. So I'm not sure we ended the week the right way, like we have been doing. I messed up and forgot to call Terry Fant, my friend, the pastor of Hickory Ridge Baptist Church in Florence, Mississippi, who every time I put his picture up on the live stream, he reminds me we got to get a new picture. Because I got Big Terry on there. Terry's not as big anymore. But I messed up. I forgot to call him. Well, with that said, to help us on this Monday, biblically decipher really what grace is. What is grace? What's it all about? What's the Bible say about it? Here he is, Terry Fant, the pastor at Hickory Ridge Baptist Church in Florence, Mississippi. Terry, how you doing?
Matt, how's it going, man? I'm doing very well. Very well.
Well, good. Yeah, and I'm doing fine too. And I need is that what I need? If I messed up and I didn't do something on Friday, is grace what I need?
Yeah, well, really, I would say there's a combination of things that we need.
Right. Well, okay.
Yeah.
So let's look at this. To really put the importance of that word, right here on the screen, right here in our ears, and right in our mind's eye for all of us. You sent me a verse here, Ephesians 2, verse 8, and it says, "For by grace you have been saved through faith and not of yourselves. It is the gift of God. But that's pretty, if I have been saved through faith, but it says for by grace, then grace is pretty important. So what is the Bible saying it is, Terry?
So leading up to that, Matt, in Ephesians 2, starting about verse 4, he talks about God who's rich in mercy, and because of his great love, while we were dead in our trespasses, he made us alive together with Christ. So what he's saying there is that it wasn't that we had done something good in order for God to respond to our goodness and make us acceptable and part of his family. He was saying, in fact, that we had not done anything good. As a matter of fact, we were disobedient to his law, and yet it is this thing called grace that allows for us to be part of God's family, have our sins forgiven. And so an easy way to remember the word grace simply means getting what you do not deserve. And if we got just a second, I'll tell you, greatest illustration I ever heard about that is about a peanut butter sandwich. So a friend told me his son asked to borrow his wife's car. His mom had just gotten her dream car. He had a car, but it was a little older model. And so he asked. Mom told him, no, don't you dare be driving my new car. So she's at work, and the new car's at home, and son gets home from work, decides he's just going to drive it down the road. He takes a quick trip down the road, and man, something catches his attention. He swerves a little bit, and a mailbox goes right down the side of his mama's dream car that she finally got. So he, dejected, he returns the car home, and Dad gets home first. He tells Dad. Dad says, well, I'm not going to do anything about it. Mama's going to handle this. And so she comes home, and he hears her car pull up in the driveway, and the son's waiting at the kitchen table. Mom already knows what's happened because Dad spilled her in. And Mom goes over to the cabinet, gets out a plate, goes over to the cabinet, pulls out some bread, and begins to make a peanut butter sandwich, which was this boy's favorite. She goes over to the refrigerator and gets the gallon jug of that Red Label vitamin D whole milk, which is also his favorite. And she pours him a tall glass, sits down at the table, gives him his peanut butter and sandwich and full glass of milk. And he's like, Mom, what in the world is going on? I wrecked your car. And she said, well, I wanted to just take this opportunity to teach you about grace. You deserved something different, but instead, not because you're good, not because you've done the right thing, I wanted to show you what grace looks like. It's getting something good and wonderful when you have done something that is undeserving.
How about that?
So, in fact, grace is a peanut butter sandwich.
Which none of us deserve a peanut butter sandwich, but sometimes we get one anyway, right? That's a really good analogy. My Sunday school teacher in the past, and I think I'm getting this right, the way he would say the difference between grace and mercy, right? Because we hear both those terms in relation to God. He'd say, grace is like you just said. Grace is when you get what you don't deserve. Wait a minute. When you get what you get.
That's
okay,
right.
no, hold on. I messed it up. He said, okay, grace is when you get something better than you deserve. He said, mercy is when you don't get what you do deserve. How about that?
That's right.
You can see how I got confused on it, but that's basically right.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I give here's a gruff explanation. I tell our people, so mercy is, if you slap me, by the justice of the world, I ought to throat punch you, right? I mean, it's just kind of one for one.
Yeah.
But mercy says you slap me or you punch me and I don't do it back. You cut me off in traffic and I don't chew you out. Mercy is the not receiving of what you did deserve.
Right. Begging for mercy. Terry Fant on your radio right now. We're talking about grace. And so we reference Ephesians chapter 2, verse 8. For by grace you've been saved through faith and not of yourselves. And that, not of yourselves, it is the gift of God. Which, Terry, if you extrapolate the meaning of that verse, there's so much in it. But when it continues there, okay, and it's saying you've been saved through faith and that not of yourselves, meaning you don't even get credit for that. Basically saying my salvation is solely due to Jesus, not because of one single solitary thing I have ever done or could do. Right?
Yes. And that's the great struggle, isn't it? Even when we come to God, by grace through faith, we have a tendency, I call it getting churched up.
Yeah.
God starts changing you. You don't have the same language. You don't have the same desires. All of a sudden, your life really begins to resemble holiness because Christ does that.
Yeah.
But somewhere, if we're not careful, we're thinking that now because we are this, that God did anyway, this good thing, we deserved the salvation that he purchased with his own blood.
Right.
It's a terrible mistake. Prideful, and we start looking down on people, when we get that way.
Yeah. Terry kind of cut out there a little bit, but he said, it's not, and the verse there in verse 8, it actually continues and says, and that, talking about saved through faith, not of yourself, it is the gift of God. Okay, so first of all, then you'd say, well, if Paul in this New Testament is saying it's a gift of God, it means that it is given to me, because if I could earn it, it wouldn't be a gift. The only way you can get a gift, somebody give it to you. You can't earn a gift. And then in verse 9, it says, not of works, lest anyone should boast. In other words, you aren't saved with works. And you said it, Terry. I don't know that there's anything that gets more misconstrued out there in Christianity than that.
Yeah. And how about extending it to others,
Yeah.
Matt, it was just recently that God showed me that, what I have mistaken for grace is really kindness. And what I mean is, people that I meet or people that I know or people I'm in a relationship with, I may be kind to them. I may do good things to them or for them. But they've not done anything to harm me. So what I have thought was grace really was just kindness. I can only show grace when someone has wronged me or harmed me. In other words, grace is only grace when it's undeserved.
What about this verse real quick, Terry? Hebrews 4:16. Let us then with confidence draw near to the throne of grace, that we may receive mercy and find grace to help in time of need. Boy, there's a lot in that, isn't it?
Yes, sir. So here's part of what he's saying. Grace is not just the grace that saves us, but it is the grace that sustains us. We'll have to keep going back to that throne and saying, oh, Lord, I've messed up, I've done wrong, and come boldly knowing that God is a God of grace, that he'll still show me grace even after I have messed up again.
And he'll continue to do it.
Oh, my.
Thank goodness. Thank the Lord.
Hallelujah is what I'll say.
And the beautiful thing about it, if you're not humble, it's almost impossible to keep going back to that throne of grace. More on that down the road. Terry, I really do appreciate some time. It's good to hear your voice, and this time on a Monday. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Good to change things up a little bit.
That's it. Everybody keep doing it. We'll start the week the right way. Thank you, man. Talk soon.
All right, bye.
Appreciate y'all tuning in. I'm Matt. For Beaver, all of us here on the show. See you next week. See ya.